Hello everyone, this is Liam Murphy, aka the Blazing Bishop, back with another edition of Blazing Bishop Breakdowns. Today we're going to be looking at a game between Levi Rosman and Christopher Yu. For those who don't know, Levi is an international master and one of the biggest chess streamers out there. He goes under the alias of GothamChess on YouTube. Is an international master from New York City. Christopher Yu, who he's playing, at one point in time held the title for the youngest international master from the United States, so a really strong young chess player himself. This game that we're looking at took place at the National Open, which takes place in Las Vegas, Nevada. I myself played in this tournament several years ago. It's a ton of fun. I know a lot of people were looking forward to playing in this tournament. It was one of the first tournaments that opened up after the pandemic started. And so this took place in round 5 with Levi playing with the white pieces and Christopher playing with the black pieces. So the game started with c4, the English opening, and Christopher plays e6. Knight c3 from Levi, knight f6, just developing our pieces here. Knight f3 from Levi, and d5 from Christopher, striking at the center. Here, Levi plays e3. I guess they call this the Anglo-Indian defense. You kind of want to get your pawn on d4 to very solid. And notice that when the pawn comes to e3, this bishop can develop on this diagonal. And so it doesn't look like Levi's going to develop his bishop or fianchetto his bishop here on the square g2, which happens a lot in the English opening. My mistake. Levi plays b3, signifying that he wants to fianchetto his dark square bishop, and Christopher develops his bishop to d6. Christopher castles, and Levi plays bishop b2. Getting our pieces out here. c6 from Christopher, a very solid structure here. And Levi finally plays d4, just opening up in the center, grabbing some space. And Christopher plays b6, looking to fianchetto his bishop to b7, or perhaps place his light squared bishop on a6. And queen c2 from Levi, keeping flexibility here, eyeing on the king a little bit here with this move, and keeping up the idea of maybe he wants to castle queenside, keeping his options really flexible. Bishop b7 from Christopher, probably saying that he wants to play c5 at some point to open up this bishop. And Levi plays bishop e2, just developing his last minor piece. White can castle on either side of the board now. They could castle on the queen side and maybe start pawn storming if they wanted. Really whatever white wants to do here. Christopher gets his last minor piece developed as well with knight d7, knight b to d7, and Levi decides to castle kingside. For those curious, this is a really slow chess game played between these two. I believe the time control is something essentially like they have, 2 hours of times to think just for themselves. So maybe like a 4-hour to 5-hour game total. Here, Christopher plays queen e7, and Levi plays rook a to d1, probably saying that he probably wants to put his f rook on e1 lined up with the queen, and he sees that the d file may open one day. Christopher gets his rook into the game. And remember, when we're moving our rooks, we got to think about both our rooks. So Christopher's saying, I want my b rook to come to the c file to line up with your queen. And here, Levi plays e4, opening up the center. And Christopher captures. Levi takes with the knight. And Christopher captures back. And Levi takes with the queen. And Christopher improves his knight, making it a second-ranked knight to a third-ranked knight, hitting the queen and giving the king some defense. Here, Levi brings his queen to h4, kind of setting up a pin here if the bishop wasn't there, and again, putting more pressure on this king. Notice that Levi's bishops are wanting to one day rake down on this king. And same with Christopher's. They're doing the same thing. Both these bishops want to attack this king. And here, Christopher plays bishop a3, saying, I want to trade this bishop. This bishop is annoying. It's going to be a strong piece. It's going to point at my king. I want it gone. And Levi says, no, I'm not trading the bishop. I'm keeping it on the board. Christopher plays c5, opening up his light squared bishop. And here, Levi plays d5. Now, if we pause here, we can count the attackers and defenders. Black is attacking once, twice, 3, 4 times. And white is only defending once, twice. So more attackers than defenders. So Levi is sacrificing a pawn here. And Christopher takes the pawn. And the reason for the pawn sacrifice is now Levy gets in the move bishop to d3. So this game is getting exciting. Some attacking chess is going on here. Now let's take a look. Why can't Black just, gobble up the c-pawn? Well, there will be tactical reasons why. I hope you guys saw this. Pause your video if not. Bishop takes h7 is a devastating trick where you can't take this bishop with your knight, because now that your c-pawn is here, your bishop is no longer defending your queen. So you would just lose your queen there. And bishop takes h7. If the king just runs away, well, this is not looking good for white either. White can just kind of get this bishop out of the way, maybe bring it to f5, and then the queen can start invading, trying to threaten checkmate or bring this knight back, where this bishop now gets to see this g-pawn. Christopher did not fall for that, though. He played h6. Saying, okay, well, you can't sacrifice your bishop there if there's no pawn to sacrifice. And here, Levy played rook f to e1, a very logical move, getting his last minor piece developed, or not minor piece, but getting his last piece developed, his rook, and hitting the queen. So he's hitting the queen with tempo, taking control of the only open file on the chessboard as well. If we look at Black's camp, they're a little bit further behind in development. This rook is not really playing chess yet. And this bishop is not playing chess at all. It's not participating right now. It's kind of trapped on this side of the board. So the queen comes to d6, and Levy captures. Christopher takes with the knight, opening up the eyes of this bishop. And here, Levy plays bishop e5, saying, I want this bishop to hit the queen, and I want this queen on a different square. So the queen comes to e7, not a square the queen really wants to be in, lining up for a discovered attack. And white is not eager to do something like bishop takes g7, where, Black can first trade the queens. Queen takes h4, knight takes, and then pick up the bishop. So don't be so eager for those discovered attacks, guys. Levy plays queen g3, saying, I am not trading queens. I am the one attacking here, threatening checkmate in one. What are you going to do about it? Black does not have a lot of good options here. I only see a couple to stop this checkmate. One is queen f8, one is f6, and one is knight f6. We don't really want to play any of those options, but Christopher does play queen f8, putting his queen in a defensive role of g7, not what the queen wants to be doing. Here, Levy plays knight g5, which this is a blunder. He blundered. Oh no, he was fully in control. He's the one attacking. Let's look at why it's a blunder. H takes g5 is what Christopher does. He takes the knight. And here's what I think Levy was planning. I think what Levy was thinking is, well, if you take my knight, I can play queen h3. And now I'm threatening checkmate on h7. And if you do something like, well, g6, well, then queen h8 is checkmate. So that's what I think Black was planning here, or White was planning here. But what he maybe missed was, well, knight f6, and now I'm carding this checkmate square here. And if you try to get rid of my knight to threaten this checkmate, well, I just get rid of your bishop so that you cannot do this checkmate, and I hit your queen. So you have to take this rook, and then I'll take this bishop. And now if we look at the material, White is just losing in material here. So Levy did blunder in this game with knight g5. Christopher took the knight, but it's not an easy position to play at all. So, when we look at blunders, it's very easy here sitting in this chair looking at this with the computer beforehand to say, oh, that's a blunder, I see why. But people are not computers, right? This is not easy to play. It's not easy to be attacked in chess. So Levy picks up the pawn, getting something for his knight and still keeping the pressure. And Christopher plays knight e7. And Levy plays queen h5, threatening checkmate. Now, there's really only one move here for Black that saves the day. So again, pause your videos if you need to. Find the one defensive move that saves the day. And for Black, what they should have played here was knight g6. It stops the bishop from seeing h7. You're not really concerned about them taking here because we'll just take back. And now you just don't have enough pieces to attack this king. You're just down too much material. So that's what Black should have done. Unfortunately for Black, they chose to play f5. And the idea is similar behind f5. It stops the bishop from seeing h7. Unfortunately, and I've done this myself in chess, I think Christopher forgot that f5 also has a drawback where it opens a diagonal to the king. So that's what Levy does. Bishop c4, check. And now look at these bishops. They are raking down on this king. Black plays bishop d5, thinking that they're okay here, but oh no, here Levy hits him with the spice with rook takes d5, sacrificing the rook for the bishop. The knight takes back, and then Levy, a cool, quiet move, rook d1, getting the rook into the action here, putting pressure on this bishop, looking to take it, or putting pressure on the knight, excuse me, attacking the knight twice now. The queen comes to e8, saying, let me get these queens off the board. I'm being attacked. I'm hitting the bishop as well. And Levy says, no, no, no. I'm keeping the queens on the board. I'm the one doing the attacking. So he takes the f-pawn to defend the bishop. Queen c6 is played to defend the knight. And again, Levy hits him with the spice. Rook takes d5 again. Too much strength here because after rook takes d5, Levy's not done attacking here, where a cool queen g5, threatening checkmate. It's getting very hard for black to defend everything. Again, this bishop, a very sad bishop, not participating in this game at all. This rook, not participating in this game at all. So yes, if we look at the material here, black is winning the material. But really, if we look at what's going on in this game right now, all of white's pieces are doing something. Only 2 of black's pieces are doing something. And do we really like what they're doing? This piece is pinned to the king and just stopping a check, and the queen is just defending the rook. Those are not what you want your pieces to be doing. So king f7 is played. A brave move from black here. Now, do not be greedy here, chess kids. You have to find the best move. What you should not do is queen takes g7, because after king e8, you don't really have any play. It's hard to progress here. Black's going to be able to get their pieces in the game. So the check here is actually not the best move. Funny enough, the best move from the computer is something like bishop b8. I just find that move super funny. This bishop comes over here, and you're putting more pressure on this rook is the idea. And if this rook takes, probably going to lose that rook too to some checks. So that is what could have happened. But what Levy did, also a strong move, bishop takes g7, discovering an attack on the rook. And the bishop is still defended by the queen. The king comes to e6. Yikes, this king is brave, but he's still in the pin. And here, Levy plays queen e5. Again, the rook can't take the queen because the king would be in check. And Christopher plays king d7. And here, Levy captures the rook with the bishop, skewering the queen to the rook. And it's really falling apart for black here. Black goes with queen g6, a last-ditch hope here of just hoping that Levy will take the rook and forget about his back rank weaknesses, where that would be a checkmate. Levy, though, does not. He plays bishop e4, shutting down the checkmates, or shutting down all the checks that black has. Black plays queen e8, looking to trade queens. And finally, queen d5 hits the board, hitting the king, double attacking the rook. And here, black does resign, because after queen takes a8, there's just nothing that black can do. The king comes to e8, and you just pick up this free rook. And now if we look at the position, black is just down not only a clean bishop, but they're also down 2 pawns. So 5 points of material in an endgame where there's no threatening of this queen to do any checks or anything. So a really exciting game to break down today. I myself like to look at these games between international masters, FIDE masters even, and it's because when you get games between international masters, people make blunders. We saw 2 blunders nearly back-to-back in this game. And that's helpful because, you know, I don't play like a grandmaster. I'm assuming many of you don't either. But when we look at these super GM games, it's pretty rare to see mistakes. So super exciting attacking game here from Levy. Both of them had a great tournament. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Really helps us out, guys. Have a great day.